The Singapore Grand Prix was supposed to be a victory for McLaren, another milestone in their resurgence. Lando Norris back on the podium. Champagne flowing, smiles everywhere, but beneath those bright lights at Marina Bay, something darker unfolded. Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, was nowhere to be seen during the celebrations. Instead, he stood alone in the media pen, watching his own team rejoice without him. And that image has ignited fury across the Formula One world. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. Fans believe it was the clearest sign yet that McLaren is favouring Lando Norris. From controversial team orders to the now infamous bump at Turn 3, the tension has boiled over. So buckle up, because what you're about to hear might change how you see McLaren completely. If you love uncovering the real stories behind Formula One's biggest controversies, make sure to subscribe. This is the kind of video every F1 fan needs to watch. Let's unpack one of the most controversial moments of the 2025 Formula One season, the Singapore Grand Prix, where McLaren's team dynamic erupted in full view of the world. What happened inside that orange garage wasn't just another post-race misunderstanding. It was a clear sign that McLaren's internal harmony is breaking apart, and Oscar Piastri may now be fighting not just for a championship, but for respect inside his own team. It all began at Turn 1. Piastri launched himself around the outside of Verstappen, trying to secure third position early. But at that exact moment, Norris dived down the inside, a bold, almost desperate move that put both McLaren side by side. For a split second, it looked like a dream start for McLaren. Then in a flash, it turned into chaos. Norris had to swerve to avoid hitting Verstappen, but in doing so, he nudged Piastri off the racing line. The Australian dropped back to fourth, watching his podium hopes vanish before the first lap had even ended. Over the team radio, Piastri's frustration boiled over. He accused Norris of reckless driving and pleaded with the team to swap positions. But McLaren refused. There was no order to return the place, no penalty from the stewards, only silence. And that silence spoke volumes. It suggested that once again McLaren was more interested in protecting Norris than giving both drivers equal treatment. For the third race in a row, Lando finished ahead of Piastri. His podium reduced the Australians' lead in the Drivers' Championship to just 22 points, a slim margin that could disappear in one bad race. Yet the real drama wasn't about the points. It was what came after the checkered flag. As the team prepared to celebrate their second consecutive Constructors' Championship, the atmosphere inside McLaren's garage should have been euphoric. Champagne was flowing, high fives everywhere, orange confetti in the air. But eagle-eyed fans noticed something shocking. The man who had contributed the most points to that title, Oscar Piastri, was missing from the celebration. Instead of standing on the podium with his team, he was stuck in the media pen, watching the party on a nearby screen. The image of Piastri standing alone while Norris and Zak Brown celebrated sent shockwaves through social media. Fans were furious, calling the moment insane, embarrassing, and even workplace bullying. Some argued that Piastri, as the current championship leader, deserved to be front and centre. Others believed his absence symbolised the growing divide inside McLaren, a silent protest against a team that no longer feels united. Of course, McLaren quickly tried to calm the storm. They explained that drivers finishing outside the top three must go to the FIA scales before attending media interviews. Piastri was simply following the rules. They said later he did appear for team photos and celebrations, but by then the damage was done. The optics were terrible. The world had already seen the image of McLaren celebrating without their championship leader, and no explanation could fully erase that perception. And it's not just about one missed photo. This moment fits a much larger pattern, one that's been developing all season. Anthony Davidson, however, didn't agree. He flat out said Norris should have been penalised for forcing his own teammate wide, calling it a move that crossed the line between ambition and respect. But it was James Hinchcliffe who took things further, suggesting that Piastri's absence from the post-race celebrations wasn't accidental at all. It was psychological. In his words, it was the quiet statement of a driver who now feels completely alone in his own team. A man realizing that his biggest fight may no longer be against Verstappen or Russell, but against the colours of his own garage. And that's perhaps the most worrying part for McLaren. Not that they risk losing a few championship points, but that they risk losing something far more fragile, their drivers' trust. Because once a racer starts to believe that his team is no longer behind him, performance begins to crumble from within. You can already hear it in Piastri's voice. The normally calm, composed, ice-cold Australian now sounds tense, frustrated and uncertain. He's second-guessing calls, questioning strategies, and for the first time all season, showing the cracks of a man carrying more weight than any rookie should. It's the kind of mental strain that can quietly dismantle a championship campaign. And the irony is cruel. McLaren's internal politics, not Red Bull or Mercedes, might end up costing them both titles. Even Jenson Button has noticed the shift. He said Piastri no longer looks like the same confident driver who started the season. The sparkle in his driving seems dimmed by pressure, tension, and the feeling of being sidelined. The constant comparisons, the split strategies, and the invisible hierarchy within the team are taking their toll. Yet despite it all, Piastri still leads the championship. That alone is a testament to his incredible focus and relentless consistency. But the cracks are visible now, and with 6 races left on the calendar, the danger couldn't be greater. Norris has momentum. McLaren's management appears divided. And Piastri? He's fighting not just for points, but for respect, for the belief that his efforts still matter. If the team continues to lean one way, they could easily hand the Drivers' Championship straight to their rivals at Mercedes or Red Bull. Competitors like Verstappen and Russell can smell weakness, and in Formula One, weakness is blood in the water. They know McLaren's biggest threat right now isn't from the outside. It's from within their own walls. This Singapore controversy could very well be remembered as the spark that ignited McLaren's internal war, the moment when a team chasing glory began tearing itself apart from the inside out. Whether they can recover before Austin will define everything that comes next. Because in Formula One, it's not always the fastest car or the bravest driver that wins, it's the team that stays united when the pressure mounts. Unity wins championships. Division destroys them. So now the question every fan is asking, was Oscar Piastri really wrong to feel betrayed? Or has McLaren crossed a line by putting Norris first yet again? From your perspective, who was truly at fault under the Marina Bay lights? Was Piastri too aggressive, or was McLaren's strategy clearly tilted in Lando's favour? Let me know what you think down below, because this might just be the turning point that changes everything heading into Austin.